ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Sports betting isn't a gut call. It's a market with prices that move. WagerBird shows you what to bet, when to bet it, and how the line is changing live. Every pick is time-stamped. Every result is tracked. Start betting like an analyst with WagerBird.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome back to the Midday Market Report / Closing Bell. The odds couple are back. MLB Friday Night Bright Lights, and holy shit, stop the press. The Red Sox have now won 10 in a row took the race to the woodshed 10-0 this afternoon at friendly Fenway Park. Just one game under 500. The biggest game of the year, the nightcap, the twilight game. Why is it the biggest? Because now you can get to 500. You can't talk playoffs if you're under 500. I know this. 2.5-3 weeks ago, they're now 15-2 their last 17. The Yankees came into town and the Red Sox were 17 games under 500. If they swept them, we would have been 20 games under 500. The season's over. That's it. We're done. And now we are one game under 500. I'm not talking we're going to win the division. But if the playoffs started tonight, we're in there. And I don't know who this damn pitching staff is. This Bennett kid, everything now Breslow touches has turned to gold, not mold. And obviously I'm a little fired up because 2.5-3 weeks ago, we didn't have a season. And I'm going to give you the latest hot off the press. And it's kind of correlated to what I have said now for weeks upon weeks. And Scotty, wait till you roll your eyes on this one. But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It is WagerBird. Blaine Davis on this afternoon, actually this morning, talking about his platform, talking about what he has under the hood. And we're hoping that we're going to put something together that will blow everyone's mind here for the football season and beyond. So check out wagerbird.com. If you want to sign up today, purchase some gems and birds, of course. Use the promo code WELCOME20. Reach out to Blaine Self at info@wagerbird.com. Tell him JD from ECSI sent you there. And, of course, it's WagerWire. Head on over to download the app first at Google Play. Head on over to X. Join the community at wagerwire.com. And then while you're there, head on over to wagerwire.com/marketplace. So without further ado, let's bring it. I hope his butt's not too sore from that ass whooping. Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, champ?
What's going on? You look like you just got off the golf course. Looks good.
I'd like to say I feel refreshed, but for me, it's just Groundhog Day. I've been chasing my tail, getting ready for the second half of the season. I had a great day Monday in Boston, Charlestown for the Tall Ships with my daughter and family. I had some great dinner at the North End. They came back Tuesday and Wednesday. It looked like Armageddon. It was the wildfires from Quebec, those damn Nordiques. I mean, where's Peter Stastny and his brother when you need them? And now we're back Thursday, Friday. I talked to you at length. We're back to our old time slot. Life's good. How about yourself, sir?
Yeah, look, man, it's a couple things here, right? We probably should preface before we get into stuff. First thing is we didn't play baseball for 4 days. I know you had the home run derby, and I know we had the American League and the National League, get together kind of thing. So there was stuff around baseball, but we didn't play any games that are meaningful to the season. So that creates a problem, and the problem is some teams went into the break losing a bunch of games. Some teams went into the break winning a bunch of games. So what does momentum look like coming out of the break? Well, there's ways to handle that. So what we should address that in the sense that first thing is I know the Red Sox are hot and all that stuff, but they're winning because of pitching, and their pitching. And you brought up Bennett. Bennett's had his first start wasn't very good, and they didn't really let him start after that, so he didn't pitch. And then they let him start pitching again because they had to, and that Bello didn't make it, so we'll put Bennett back in there. His first start wasn't good. And then after that, he's been an ace. I mean, he's been a game score 60-ish type guy, great numbers, bet on type pitcher ever since. And it doesn't matter who you face. If you're a good pitcher, you're gonna win games, and you're gonna put your team in that run. So what I'm getting at is offenses run hot, offenses run cold. 4-day spans can stop that. Mm-hmm. So what I'm suggesting is for the first couple of starts here, coming out of break, you should be really not going to the point of saying, hey, I want to go find the best offenses before the break and bet on them. That they might not be the same coming out of the break. I heard somebody talk about the Phillies game on the radio, and they were talking about, well, they came out flat and they didn't want to play, blah, 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 blah. Well, you might see a little bit of that coming out of this break. Is some of these offenses aren't ready to go. Now, an offense like Washington Nationals, I'm not worried about. They've been the best stuff. They've scored runs all year long, whether they pitched or did whatever. They just wake up scoring runs. They fall out of bed and then they get another run. That kind of thing. So I'm not worried about them. But what I would tell you is starting pitching is going to be way more important in these next, say, 4 or 5 days, and before these guys come back to start again, because the offenses are either going to start cold and then get hot. They're going to start cold, stay cold. Some team that was cold might be hot. You don't know any of that until you see it. So when you're betting, I think the best thing to think about right now coming out of the break is bet on pitchers. Don't bet on the offense.
I'm going to set the stage. And again, I don't not like the start of the year and the woes and where we are today. I'm not going to start the second half. I'd like to have my time here, meaning, I didn't have a baseball season. Well, for some God reason, the man upstairs is blessing us with a season. Let me preface it this way. Scotty, we are or were the worst team in baseball at home. You used to build the team offensively around Fenway Park and the quirks, the dimensions. We're the worst team at home. Worst. Second of all, you said it perfect. Nothing worse than a 5-day layoff when you just won 9 in a row, because it's hard to pick it up where you left off. That's number 2. Number 3, here come the Rays, here come the Jays, and we're 1-5 and 1-5 in the biggest 10-game homestand of the season. Now, when you're 2 games under 500 and have won 9 in a row, if you go 2-8 during those 10, you become the sellers again. There goes Chapman, there goes Sonny Gray, and we'll figure out the rest of the year. I get it. I applaud. Thanks for a couple weeks. By the way, Breslow still has to go. That's the thought process. Now, if you go 6-4 in these 10, now at least you're at 500. You're in the conversation. Let's see where the next 10 days go. And are we buyers or sellers? August 3rd is the deadline. We talk the social media. Red Sox are in on James Wood. Yeah, I know. And I got 2 bridges for sale right now, the Bourne and the Sagamore. But I did hear something before we went live. It makes all the sense in the world. I've been saying this for weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks. The Padres want out of Xander Bogaerts' contract. They do. They made a mistake. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to trade him. No one's picking him up for pennies for the full contract like we got with Devers. We're not going to find someone like that. But what better place to bring him back home to Fenway Park? Well, you know who the attachment is to Xander Bogaerts? It's not Tatis that I said 2 weeks ago. It's Mason Miller. Okay? So if the Padres were going to eat 30 cents, 40 cents on the dollar, I don't know what that number is, and you got to pick up the boatload of it, and you get Mason Miller. I said Tatis. Now they're talking Mason Miller. A, am I crazy? B, I still think you think Padres are buyers. Kind of want to see where you stand on the Padres today.
Yeah, my thoughts are is the National League is different than the American League. I think the American League, you got people who are going to be afraid to sell because they're all going to be right there. And I was listening to something on the radio today, MLB Network, and they were talking about I think it was the guy in the morning or whatever, the former Mets guy, Steve Phillips. He was interviewing a writer, and the writer said, "Hey, look, baseball is about players, and baseball is about the guys on the field." But he said that he felt like a general manager or two were going to be the reasons why some of these teams made the playoffs or not. Because some are going to go and do some things, some are not. He also said, and it made sense to me, he said that he would be very surprised, almost flabbergastedly surprised, if there were any major moves. Meaning, he said, I don't think big contracts are moving at all. They don't have the money. Where's the money going to come from? The money in the offseason is there because you don't have your rosters filled out. So you know how much money you can spend. They've spent all their money. So a big roster, a big, like everybody wants to see, you were talking about James Wood. I know we're making it up. And I know there's a report out there from some guy in, I don't know, I don't remember what island he's on, but he's on one of those islands, Dominican islands. And he's the guy who brought this report out. James Wood is not going anywhere. And the cost associated with some of these moves in terms of mortgaging your future is too high. I don't care if it's James Wood or whatever. I saw some guy says on Twitter the other day, well, we can get this player, whatever player it was a good player, and we can give away all these 6-7 prospects. And I'm like, you don't do that. That's not how it works, right? I mean, it doesn't work like that. So my point being is going to be this. He said, the writer, he said, based on his conversations that he's been having, somebody's going to go make some deals. He said what he thought they would be is a bunch of complementary players, meaning, if you need somebody, and I'm just going to throw it out, Bogaerts would be what I would say is a complementary player. Miller's somebody I would say is a high-end blow up. Hey, this is a huge deal. So I'm thinking Miller's probably not going to move. Bogaerts, sure. I could see Bogaerts go. Steve Phillips is saying, well, why can't we trade Lindor? Well, nobody wants him. That's the you got to have, just because you have a need doesn't mean that you have a guy who can play the role that'll fit into your design and all that stuff. And he's older. He's older than Soto. So when you think about a lot of different things that you have to put the big blockbuster deal together, you got to have. So Tariq Skubal, let's talk him for a second. That'd be a blockbuster deal. Well, who's going to go get him? There's several teams: the Rays, the Brewers, the Dodgers. These teams have farm systems that can go get him. They could go get anybody they wanted. The reality, though, is what are you mortgaging now for not being able to sign for the following season or whatever that looks like? And is this the year you want to go try to win the World Series? I mean, that's what it's going to amount to. Is he that piece for, say, the Rays that's going to win them the World Series? My opinion, he's not. My opinion would be is the Rays would be better with the pitching that they already have, and they would be better if they went and got Luis Ariz and some other player, an outfielder, even if they got like Joe Adell or somebody. That makes them deeper, longer, better at those spots. And their pitching is decent enough where in the American League, they might be able to win. So Skubal coming in just as Skubal, it's not enough, because what's the Rays' deficiency? They got three guys. I keep saying this over and over and over. They got three guys. And when you talk about Diaz and Caminero and Jonathan Aranda, and if those three guys aren't hitting, they're not winning. So those three guys have to hit, and then the pitching has to be good enough. Like today, what are they throwing? They threw a former relief pitcher today in Griffin Jacks. He's been pretty decent, but they threw him this morning. And tonight and this afternoon, they're throwing their long relief guy. They took Seymour, who is a relief pitcher, and they're trying to stretch him out in the middle of the season. They need pitchers. So they need more than just one ace at the front, if that makes sense. So my opinion would be is I think the Padres should sell and sell and sell everything they got. I would blow up that whole team and whatever I could do, because I know I sound bad when I say certain things, but that combination of players doesn't work. You need to have a different combination of players that might work. You can keep some of those guys there because they're star players, but you need to have guys that work together instead of a whole bunch of me guys who really like work together when they're me guys and they're hitting. When they don't hit, they don't play well. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers a lot of times look ridiculous because who in the hell's in their lineup? What the call from the Washington's been playing, and they had I forget what the guy's name is. They had a call-up kid that was playing. Ward, I think was his name, playing in the outfield, and you're like, who in the hell are these guys? And they still have that backup shortstop guy, and then I'm like, and they still want the guy that's injured, Enrique Hernandez and stuff, and I'm like, why do you want these guys? And it's because they're all team-oriented guys, and they play good defense. They do what they're supposed to do. They're not superstars, but they're consistently 100% doing what they're supposed to do. They don't go make what was it the Yankees did, 27 errors in 15 games or something. The Dodgers don't do that. They lose games, but not like that. They play good baseball, right? So I think there's a lot of things in play. Just so that you can get your Boston hopes even higher. The Yankees tonight start the second half of the season, but this is game one of 22 consecutive games of teams they face that are over 500. 22 consecutive. After that, so this is kind of their season. After that, right, and they've got a little bit of a cushion, not much, but a little bit in the wild card and all the other stuff that's going on in that league. But they need to win some of these games or most of these games, because after that, they're going to be on sort of cruise control with a really bad schedule going forward after these 22. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. There's a report now that Aaron Judge is not healthy. The imaging came back that it had progressed, not worse, but progressed in terms of getting healthy, but not healthy enough where he can do baseball activities. They're going to re-image him in a couple of weeks. Well, we're in the middle of July. A couple of weeks puts it the beginning of August. Ramp up time, he's not coming back until the beginning of September, if he comes back even then. So think about the Yankees' dilemma now. They got some starting pitching, but, they got a couple guys hurt. Rodon's hurt. That's not helpful to them. Fried's hurt. They need to get him back. So they're in a position where, they got pitching, but they can't play baseball like they used to play baseball. Aaron Judge is the Yankees. And if he's not coming back until September now, or even the middle of September, they're going to have to win games differently, and they're going to need a support to the lineup that they probably didn't realize they needed, because Aaron Judge was overcoming a lot of their deficiencies, if you will. So now Brian Cashman's got to sit there and go, okay, I got a couple weeks. What do I really need? Well, you got to figure out the shortstop. You got to figure out third base. You got to figure out catcher. You might want to get an outfielder that can hit. That all play halfway decent. Well, that's 4 players out of the 9. That's a rough spot. But if you look back to what like the Braves did when Acuna went down, they went and signed Jorge Soler, and I don't know who else they got in that and all that little.
They got a whole outfield. They didn't have an outfield, and I'm going to say that.
And that took them all to the World Series, and they won. So you can do it, but you got to get a little lucky in what you do. And I don't remember any one of those guys the Braves signed that was a blockbuster. They were those complementary player types. I think that's what you're going to see this time too.
Yeah, the Mets made it clear Soto, Peng, and a few others were not available. Everyone else is available. Of course, they want to get out of the Lindor contract. Anyone willing to take on Lindor would be a head scratcher for me. Not that he wouldn't be a decent rental that someone needed him. He needs to change a place. We understand that part. But the fact that Bo Bichette's kind of made it clear that he's one and done in New York. So I'd rather take my shot back at Bo Bichette versus Lindor. And I'm just going to close with this. Listen, I was a part of Mookie Betts, and we got a bag of donuts. I was a part of the Rafael Devers trade, which for the Red Sox at that point in time, he was a malcontent, and it was someone that was willing to pick up the 265, 275. The Jaylen Brown deal was a salary dump. The new owners of the Celtics didn't want to pay that guy $325 million for the next 5 years. It was a salary dump. So my point going back to the Padres is Bogarts grew up here. We signed Trevor Story as an insurance policy because if Bogarts wasn't going to take our deal, we still got Story. So if you could make a deal, I said this 2.5 weeks ago to you, yeah, we'll take Bogarts. We'll take on that contract if you throw in Tatis. And I was being facetious, but not. And the same with Mason Miller. Hey, you have 60 cents on the dollar. We'll take Bogarts back, but you got to throw Miller in. And the uncertainty of next year, the lockout, how many games are we going to play? Are we going to play? I think will make this year's free agency, this year's trade deadline even tougher, Scotty.
Well, there's no question that they don't know what's going to happen next year. Now, I will say that everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen on the negotiations and the stuff they've already started. So all that's good news. They kind of already have a spot to where they are. People aren't going to like me. I'm not going to be on the player side. I'm just going to say it that way. And as a former player and different things, it's hard for me to say those kinds of things. I've been a businessman now for too long, and you can't as a player just hard fast say no salary cap, because you got to run a business, and you've got to have an organized system that's fair for everyone. And you can't expect, every owner to come in with just Daddy Warbucks kind of money and just pay out, which is what theoretically they think is going to happen. They're going to think 30 owners can come in here with Daddy Warbucks money and just blah, 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 there you go, there's your money. That would already be done. That would already be happening. So my point about that is I think it's going to get ugly. It always gets ugly between the players and the owners and all the stuff, but eventually they'll figure out something, and eventually they'll get to a season in. I don't know how soon. I don't know if they're going to be locking them out. I don't know if there's going to be strikes. I don't know about any of that stuff. It could be all of that, but my thought is I think they're going to play. I think they'll play 160 some games, 62, just like they normally do. They released the schedules for next year already. That means nothing, by the way, but they did it all. So my thoughts is that some of these teams, though, don't know, and you don't know what you're working with. And because you don't know what you're working with, you don't know what to do with your pocketbook. And that becomes a serious problem. So the question then becomes I know what I'm working with this year, so I can do certain things this year. And do I really want to take on a 5-year contract from somebody, a 6-year contract from somebody, when, next year I might be able to do something different with the same exact guy, for example, and sign him to a different contract that's not so crazy big or crazy weird or however you want to call it. They're going to get, these star players are going to get their money. It's the rest of them that quote they're quote fighting for. That's what they always say. And the reality then becomes it's just silliness. And as they kind of get their silliness and their chest beating stuff out of the way, they negotiate a deal. So we'll see what ends up happening with that front. I think if there's one or two general managers, and that writer said he thought there would be. He said he didn't know which ones, but somebody's going to go out and make stuff happen. And when that somebody goes out and makes stuff happen, that puts them ahead because they're making their team better, and probably puts them in positions to get into the playoffs. Once you're into the tournament at the end, well, shit, anything can happen. But you just got to get there.
I'm going to bring you to the forefront. It's 5:46 as we speak again. Red Sox 10, Rays nothing. The nightcap 7:10. Englert and Rivera. That's posted. It's basically a pick 'em. I mean, the headline. Oh, I did want to say before we came on, Pittsburgh Cleveland was postponed due to air quality. That game was canceled tonight. The headliner, of course, is the Dodgers and the Yankees. They're right now scheduled as we speak. What did I have there? Sasaki versus Cole there. But I'm going to bring you to the forefront. I'm going to let you do your thing. Pummel pitchers, regressions, R24s, what you got in pocket, what you don't. The stage is yours, sir.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be betting a lot of stuff today. I thought that as things came about, I probably would be taking things relatively easy on the first day back. But I made 5 bets, for God's sakes. And, of course, one of those bets that I made was Pittsburgh, so they got rained out. Or not rained out, but they got air qualitied out. How about that? And better say it while you can, because, you can't always say, hey, I got canceled a game because of air quality. So, anyway, Jeff was mentioning that there's a game with obviously I'm not going to talk about the game that already happened. That'd be kind of dumb. So the first game on the card is Sasaki and Cole. And the way I talked about doing this, right, you got to start with the pitchers. So when you start with the pitchers, the first thing you run into, and I didn't do any adjustments for starting pitching. So just so you know, there's still 30 days. And that's because that's 4 days isn't going to affect 30. Now, the hitters are going to be adjusted and the pitchers are going to be adjusted until we get back into the window. So hitters, I adjusted them so that we're getting a 8 to 9 game span instead of what I normally get, which is anywhere from 5 to 6 games. The reason for that is because I don't care about the 5 or 6 games as much as I care about really the consistency over time. So 9 is better than 6 in that regard. 9 is better than 5 in that regard. Same thing applies to the bullpens. Normally I get 10 games, and then I'm running 15 games. The point is, I'm not trying to say, hey, for any other reason than I want to make sure that the consistency of who they are, what they are, is what I'm using as we develop new trends. I couldn't say trends. That's the wrong word. New hot streaks, new cold streaks, new patterns. Then they'll shorten up again, like I normally do. But the point right now is so when you hear me talk about data today, you got 30-day windows for starting pitchers. You've got 15-day windows for relief pitchers, and you got 9 or 10-day windows for batters. And the reason I say 9 or 10 is because I just want to make sure I use a date that gives me, at least 8 or 9 games for every team. So anyway, that's number one. So when I pull the numbers up and I look at them, and I'm looking at this game with the Dodgers, the first thing I want to make sure is I'm betting on pitchers. So you got Sasaki. Now, Sasaki is a 504 run value score. Now, remember when I say value score, I do this every time I talk, so I'll just make sure I say it. It's the combination of XFIP and Sierra, okay? His number is 504. That's not very good. And Garrett Cole on the other side, 354. So if they were to play based off of their numbers, Garrett Cole's team is 1.5 runs better than the Dodgers team in this side, Sasaki's team, because he's 1.5 runs better pitcher than Sasaki is. That's the goal of what we're doing. So you start there, and then you look at the RE24 score, because the best way I say this anymore is that allows a guy to blow up. I mean, they can have 4 or 5 run innings. Well, Sasaki's is -6. You can't hardly get too much worse than that. And he's a negative, and it's bad. It's not good. Now, Cole's a -2, but he's like a -1. So he at least controls it mostly. But Sasaki can give up a bunch. Now, here's the part you might not know. We talked about how terrible the Yankees were on offense for X amount of, a week. Maybe 10 days. Well, they're not that bad anymore. Obviously, they've transitioned and they started scoring some runs and they did some things. Ben Rice woke up a little bit. They're getting a little bit more offense out of them. They actually are 107 weighted runs created plus, more like average. 1.6 runs better than an average offense, so more like average. So they're a little tiny bit better than an average offense. But what you might not know is how bad the Dodgers offense has been. The Dodgers are weighted runs created plus 63. They are 47% worse, 37% worse than an average offense. That's not very good. And they are -11 runs to an average offense. So now you have the Yankees with a 1.5 run edge on the mound, and theoretically they got a 12-run edge on offense. This is a home game for the Yankees. There's a big game, and you almost historically couldn't ask for a big game pitcher more than Garrett Cole. Now, having said all of those things, Garrett Cole sucks anymore. He does throw hard. he doesn't have secondary stuff that's very good anymore. So we'll see what that looks like. However, as then I started looking at the bullpens, and you know what? The Yankees win that battle too. So the reality becomes is you got a better pitcher on the mound, you got a better offense, and you got a better bullpen. Not by very much, but just a little bit. So that being all said, and you look at the number, and the Yankees are plus money, I had to go there. So that's one of the bets I made. I bet Garrett Cole. At the time when I bet it, it was 103. I think you can get him at 105 now, or maybe even higher, depending on what your book is. So that's what I bet. The next game, and my computer likes it too. My computer says this game is going to be Yankees 5 and Dodgers 2, 5-2. And then I bet this Pittsburgh game. Now it's probably going to be the same matchup tomorrow, and then there's because that'll be the smokeout game, and then the makeup game will be tomorrow, where you have Jones and Williams. And what I'll tell you is this one's not quite as cut and dried as starting pitchers go, but it's really more about Williams is a negative. He's a negative RE24 score. The bullpens are a little bit similar, about the same. And offensively, there's no question the Pirates are just better. The Cleveland Guardians at best are an average offense. And, Pittsburgh is, they're in the top 10 and maybe even the top 7 or 8 offenses in baseball. So, Williams isn't probably what you think he is. Let me just say it this way. If I go look at Williams, his game score for the season is 55. That's not bad. It's pretty good. It's, 50's average, 60's what aces do. So he's above average, not quite as good as an ace. But over his last 7 starts, he's a 46.7. That's what I'm saying. His last time out was a game score 72. So I'm expecting, Pittsburgh to be able to hit him. I'm not expecting Cleveland to do damage against Jones, but Jones is hittable, even though he throws 100 miles an hour. But the offense is so deep for Pittsburgh, even without O'Neal Cruz. It's so deep that they're just a better baseball team. And then the nightcap is going to be, I think, Ashcraft against Cantillo. That's theoretically all Ashcraft. I know he got beat up in his last game or whatever, but he's going to pitch good in this one. So I might do a double dip on Pittsburgh tomorrow. We'll see. The White Sox and the Blue Jays game. What I will tell you about the White Sox, you might not like. I think the White Sox are going to fade here in the second half. I think Cleveland's going to maintain just because they got guys that have been there, done that kind of thing. White Sox are all brand new guys. They're all 1 year or 2 years ahead of schedule. They're all playing better than they've ever played before. But they don't have pitching. And they're in a bad spot with Anthony Kay against Miles. Now, Miles is a long relief man, so he can only go like 4 innings, maybe 5. He doesn't go deep in these games, but he's got good stuff. Now, what surprised me was his swing strike rate was so low. I thought it would be higher, but it's not. It's his swing strike percentage is 5.6%. That's a terribly low number. That's like down with Miles Michaelis and those guys. So that means they're going to hit the ball, but he puts the ball in the right spots, does all the right things. He gets the outs. His game score for him for the season's a 51. But remember, he didn't. He's pitching now, and his run value score is 3.26. That's pretty good. So I like the idea here that the Blue Jays are going to have the better pitcher. The Blue Jays right now have a better bullpen. But offensively, the Blue Jays, I don't know what to tell you about the Blue Jays offense. It sucks. And I can't count on them for anything. So I didn't bet this game, especially as being a favorite. I thought it was too much to ask, because if the White Sox actually say they don't hit Miles, but say the Blue Jays don't score, but say one run, maybe two, maybe it's 2-0. Well, the White Sox like to come from behind, and the Blue Jays bullpen is not impenetrable. They can score off of that. This game could turn into a 4-2 type game, 4-3 type game. White Sox win in the end. Because the Blue Jays just can't score runs. My computer wants me to bet Blue Jays. I can't do it. I just don't like it. Don't feel it. I don't feel convicted on it. Here's another game my computer wants me to bet, and I didn't do it. This is Atlanta against Texas. I like Chris Sale. I think Chris Sale's a good pitcher. I think he's in a good spot here against Texas. Paul Quantrill's not a great pitcher. I say Paul Quantrill. That's his dad. Cal Quantrill is a good pitcher. He's hittable, but he's a fighter. He is not Aaron Savali, for example. He's a different pitcher than that. He's better than that. He could probably start on teams, that need help. He's good enough for that. Well, he's starting now for the Rangers, but he's not an ace, and that's what Chris Sale is. So that's where you kind of want to go. My problem here is the Rangers have found an offense and a way to score runs. The Braves have not. They started the season for the first couple of months just being the Braves when they were good, and they went to the World Series, and you couldn't stop them because they could score runs. That's kind of what they were doing. They're not doing that anymore. They're not hitting very well. So Cal Quantrill, I don't know if he's going to be able to control the whole offense, but he's going to control them for a while. They're going to stay in this game. And, the biggest deficit that Chris Sale has as a starting pitcher is not that he doesn't get swing and miss, because he does, and he gets lots of strikeouts. He doesn't walk anybody. He doesn't give up home runs. His RE24 score is not dominant, what that means is when he's in these positions to give up the runs, he's liable to give up 3. And then he won't give up any more in another inning. But how many runs did the Braves get? I don't know the answer to that. So this is minus 200 almost. So then you're looking at the run line. I don't trust any of it. So I was just like, I didn't bet it. And those are, kind of the reasonings behind what I was looking at there. I did bet this one. This is Miami and Milwaukee. You have Sandy Alcantara, whatever you want to call him. I always say Alcantara because that's how it's spelled. And then you got Logan Henderson. So Logan Henderson, I think this is his 3rd start, right? No, it's only his 2nd. Wrong pitcher. No, he's good. Where is he? There he is. 2nd start off the disabled list for Logan Henderson. So I saw him the first time, and saw his data for the first time. He pitched 5 innings, or pretty close. I think it was 4 2/3 or 5 innings. Had great numbers, had great results. It's a good pitcher. He's not obviously a Mizorowski when Mizorowski's on. He's not him, but he's as good as what you're going to see, and he's probably upside-wise is higher than Alcantara. Alcantara, for example, his game score for the season for Sandy is 55. That's, like we said, that's pretty good. Well, Logan Henderson, he's only made like 5 or 6 starts altogether because he's been hurt. He's a 58. So he's closer to what aces do than what Alcantara is at this point. Now, Alcantara's not walking guys, so that's a good thing, but you don't strike him out either. So balls are going to be in play. And that's a big advantage to Milwaukee because that's what they do. That's what their offense is about. Their offense is about put balls in play and let's do something with the runners we got on base. And that's how they win their games. So that feeds right into what Milwaukee does. And then secondly, when you look at, remember, we talked about at the very beginning of the show, one of the teams that was really hot on offense was Miami. They're really hot. Well, they scored lots of runs, had a lot of home runs, had a lot of stuff going on, positive for them. Won the most games in the month of June of any team. Well, going into the break, they got swept. They are 0-4. I'm not saying that that's going to carry over, but what I'm saying is this is a tough match for them because Henderson's a good pitcher. He's not only a good pitcher, he's a great pitcher. Alcantara is a good pitcher. They've seen him, everybody's seen Sandy. He's been around for a while. So I think Milwaukee's got an edge. So then when I started looking at it, and let me switch it over to here, you've got almost a full run advantage to Henderson, 0.82 run edge score. He's got a better RE24 score, not by much, but it is better. And when you look at the bullpen for Milwaukee is about as good as it can be. They're knocking down the back end. The guys even 7, 8, 9. You don't really have to worry about that much. So if Henderson goes, say, 5 innings, now you're only talking about you're only talking about having to cover 1 inning from somebody maybe that you don't even know who it is, but he's going to be decent enough. And I don't think that's going to be the 1 inning that hurts him. Now, the betting options on this game I found interesting. I want to switch this over here for 1 second. Let's go here. So looking at the Milwaukee game, you have like minus 138 at Profit X. That's what it is right now. And I've tried to remember what it was when I bet them. I think it was like 138, 135, 140, maybe somewhere. So somewhere in there. And I'm like, well, that's pretty good, but I don't necessarily like that number. So I was looking at, well, what's the minus 1.5? Well, the minus 1, because I can get it at Profit X. The minus 1, I paid, and I got plus 102. I'm like, you know what? If they win by 1, I get my money back. If they win by 1, I get my money back. So I didn't want to go out and spend the plus money on the 1.5 because I didn't want to risk that loss, if you want to call it that. I'll get my money back on 1. And if it's a tight game for whatever reason and they do only win by 1, okay, whatever. I misjudged it. I have them winning by more than 1. But at the same time, I just feel as though Milwaukee at home is one of these teams that you want to feel good about. I think their offense is going to put balls in play. I think they're going to score. The computer has this game, and my computer didn't tell me to bet this one. This is my game. Computer says 6-4. Milwaukee. I don't know that they're going to be that high, but it could be. Sandy can get beat up a little bit. So 6-4. So that was one of the games that I did bet was Milwaukee. I didn't bet this Minnesota-Chicago game. Look, Ober's another one of these guys coming off the disabled list. This will be a second start. The guy doesn't break a glass of pain with his velocity. His velocity is 87, 88. That's max. That's how hard he throws. But he's getting outs. He's being competitive. And when I look at this, when I say that, he's a 512 run value score. That's not very good. But Ray's not any good either. He's a 525. So who's the better pitcher? I have no idea. So then you're going to say, well, let's go to the offensive side of the ledger. And who's going to be the better offense? I would say the Cubs are going to be the better offense. But I don't know. Maybe Byron Buxton's going to play tonight, and he hasn't been playing before. So my point being is I just left this one alone. I didn't like the line. I didn't like the number. I don't think there's a dominant edge in this game. I think there's going to be some dominant edges in some of these games. And, like tomorrow, I know that Taj Bradley's pitching. Well, that's pretty good for the Twins. Well, he's still not even close. I mean, these are like 190 again, 180 again for the Cubs. So, maybe have value tomorrow for the Twins. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, seeing what numbers look like. And I didn't like this one. But Baltimore and Houston is on my radar to bet. I did not bet it. I like the Houston side. I didn't bet it. So here's why I did not bet. So if I go to the numbers, my computer says, by the way, 5-5. So it didn't give me a winner. When I look at it, Kramer's only pitched, I think, 4 or 5 games all season. So he's another one of these guys that making a second start off the disabled list. This week, this day is those guys. So he's in that spot. Lambert has pitched pretty well all season long for Houston. Probably better than you think he has. I think he is where is it? Game score for him. Yeah, he's a game score 56. Did you know that? 50, we've talked about it. His average, 60's an ace. Well, he's above a 55, so he's closer to an ace than he is closer to being an average pitcher. That's how good Lambert's been. Now, having said all that, Kramer has better numbers, but I like Kramer as a home pitcher. He's been good in Baltimore at home. I don't like him on the road at all, like not at all. So I know that sounds weird, but I don't. The reason I didn't bet this game is because I'm not sure exactly what to do with Houston's offense. Houston's offense is Jordan Alvarez. That's what it is. Every once in a while, Isak Paredes will help out, or Walker at first base will help out, but it's one guy. So I don't know what he's going to be like coming off the All-Star game coming out. I didn't want to bet it this way. I don't mind if you wanted to bet Houston because I don't really like Baltimore. I think Baltimore is a team that is going to end up selling, and I don't know what they're going to sell. So if they're selling, I don't think the clubhouse, the team, I don't like the new manager. I don't like anything about him. So the Houston side, I think, is the right side. I didn't bet it, but I got real close. The next game is this is another one. San Diego is going to play Kansas City, and this is King against Lugo. So theoretically, the way it's supposed to be King's be the best pitcher San Diego has. Lugo's supposed to be the best pitcher Kansas City has. Lugo's about the worst pitcher Kansas City has, and King has thrown 1 or 2 good games in the last 9 or 10 that he's pitched. So they've both been bad pitchers. King's been way better than Lugo, though, and the numbers look like this. You got a 4.91 run value score for King, 4.61 for Lugo. So they're right there, both going to give up 4 to 5 runs. Game score for the last 7 games, 54 for King, 34 for Lugo. I'm telling you, Lugo's been really, really bad. Lugo's a pummel pitcher. There's only 2, I think. 1, 2, 3. There's 3. Lugo's one of them. Sasaki's one of them. And who's the other one? Ober's one of them. So there's your 3 pummel pitchers today. So when I saw it, I was like, well, I want to go there. And then I started remembering Kansas City was hot a little bit before the break on offense. San Diego's never seemingly hot on offense. They're still going to have to score runs. And I know Lugo's bad, but they still got to score runs. So I just left it alone. I didn't want to go there. The odds aren't that terrible. I mean, it's like minus 120 or something on the road. I don't mind that. I think San Diego's better than Kansas. Kansas City, let's rank it this way. The Angels are the worst team in the American League. The Angels. You know who the next worst one is? It's the Royals. So they should be underdogs to San Diego, even though San Diego's a 500 type team. The next one was kind of surprising. I didn't expect Colorado to be a favorite, but they are. This kid Hughes, he's only pitched twice. He's made 1 start. He had a 3-inning bulk out game. He's pitched both times pretty well. He is not a he's not a big strikeout guy. 19% strikeouts, 7% walks. It's average. His swing and miss is 10. Where is it? Swing and miss is 9.5. He's basically an average pitcher, and an average pitcher in Colorado, that's probably pretty good. Look, Singer's been decent, especially more lately. Well, I shouldn't say that. His last couple starts, not so good. His couple starts before that, he was like an ace again. He was like, oh, my God, Brady Singer's back. Brady Singer is a game score 44 for all the season, and he hasn't missed a start, but 44, that's not very good. But for his last 7, he is a 55, so he's been pitching well above that. His last time out was a 76, and you know who that was against? The Phillies. He shut down the Phillies. So don't think he can't pitch, because he can. So I didn't want to go here. If I had my choice, I don't know how the Reds can be an underdog to the Rockies. I just don't. The Rockies are the worst team in Major League Baseball. The Reds aren't very good either, but at the same time, I tell you that, I think they're better than the Rockies, and I don't know about this Hughes kid. So it's a wait and see kind of spot. I did bet Detroit tonight against the Angels. That was my one of my late night games. I got one other one, but I like this kid Melton. Melton's pitched like an ace. Melton's game score for the season, I don't know if you'll believe this, 62. He's made 7 or 8 starts now. He's had one bad start in all of those. He's good. And not only is he good, did you know he was a 31% strikeout guy? Look, I thought he was in the 20s. I didn't think he was 31. He's striking out the world. So I like Melton against Detmers. Now, Detmers has been, everybody wants to talk about he can be an impact pitcher. Let me ask you how impactful he can be. His last 3 starts is a game score 36. His last 7's a 54. Look, I think he's a good pitcher. I don't know how impactful he's going to be at the trade deadline for another team. He might, but if you can't go shut down good teams, you're not good. So I don't think he's that guy. I think he's the guy that goes out and beats the Royals. But when you have to go play the Yankees, I think the Yankees beat him. So that's the problem, right? You can't take a guy like that and put him on there. And then I think offensively and everything else that the Tigers do, I hate that I'm betting on the Tigers with the left-handed pitcher on him. I hate that. But they got rid of Jimani Jones. Boston took him. And I'm like, oh, good for Boston. So I'll just go to the last one I bet. I did not bet St. Louis and Arizona. I wanted to. I didn't. St. Louis, I think, in my opinion, should just destroy Arizona. But St. Louis, prior to the break, for these 9 games, 10 games I have them on here, they don't hit. So if they're not hitting, I don't want to bet them. Walker's the only one hitting. But I bet Washington Nationals tonight. I know it's against Arizona and Jump, or not Arizona, Athletic and Jump. Look, Jump's been decent. He's been good. He's got good numbers, but he's not been as good as Cavalli. Cavalli's a game score 52 on the season. He's a 50 in his last 7. He's a 277 for God's sakes, over the last 30 days. 277 run value score. So XFIP and Sierra under 3, and we all know what kind of struggles the Athletics were having on offense. You're not going to see the Washington Nationals have those kinds of problems. I don't care who's pitching; they hit everybody. So I think what you might run into, if the worst case scenario is if you didn't like the play, try to figure out if you can play them in the first 5. I got them at minus 103. I'm good with that. I'll take the Nationals at minus 103. It's not minus 103 anymore. I think it's minus 130. But when I bet it, it was minus 103. So anyway, those are my thoughts and things for today. I know it's a little later in the day, but we could have some people interact. We've got no interactions today. That's all right.
I think everyone's catching their sea legs. It's the weekend. They're getting ready for the weekend. We're back. I want everyone.
They want to hear me talk football now.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be working on mixed schedules, football, baseball, new schedules. We're going to make sure everyone's updated on exactly where we are. Again, you guys can check daily on my timeline in the morning. After I do my daily, it's a gift, and the countdown to college basketball, the quote of the day, and then there'll be the timeline for the day of the shows. Head on over to X at EC Sports Invest to follow that. And of course, head on over to Scotty's at Webby20 MLB, follow him, and then click the link and join the Substack there. Good to be back. Great to see. I'll be real interested what happens tonight in Fenway. If they can get that 11th win, get to 500, then the fun begins, because you at least split the series at worst, and then maybe they can split over the weekend and then bring the Jays in. So I want to thank everyone here. Kenny Magner, Rocket Sauce, PB, wherever everyone is. Listen, enjoy yourselves. Friday night MLB Lights. Enjoy happy hour. Cheers to everyone. Pass the apps. Don't be the pizza man. And see you next week. And stay tuned.